Welcome to SLOWMENTUM. My name is Crystal Brewer and I serve as the Executive Director for the Oklahoma Visual Arts Coalition. Today I'll be taking you on a quick guided tour of our SLOWMENTUM exhibition. The descriptions I provide for each work of art come directly from the artists in their own words, providing insight into their work and practice. So without further ado, join me in this digital exhibition walkthrough. My work is comprised of collected watercolor portraits that look at life from a range of perspectives. My newest approach to the medium, glitch, represents my subjects as overexposed, a single image divided through a prism. The subjects have inspired me to look through many different lenses, a kaleidoscope of experiences, and I hope they inspire you. Kennedy's installations and sculpture deal with the body and body image, body transformation, through the exploration of anthropomorphic forms and untraditional materials. Her work can be described as a cultivation of indescribable identities that disrupt the notion of what a body truly is and how identity is intertwined within it. Wesley Kramer states, "I like to create chunky, goofy creatures that like to mess things up." Self-portraits are a subject that I find myself frequently revisiting. In recent paintings, I've started to incorporate fragments of my Bulgarian identity. I've always paid close attention to traditional embroidery, maybe for its bright colors and interesting symbolism, but also for it being such a noticeable part of a person's living space in Bulgaria. My work uses the language of thick oil paint to describe the visceral and fleshy qualities of fruit as a representation of the transient and uncontrollable physicality of the human body. These works are about forging identity amidst a societal background noise of shame. Queer bodies and identities are highly politicized and made out to be shameful, and as a queer individual, I sometimes find it difficult to be proud of who I am and what I am. It's my endeavor to use my visual and performance art to change that. My interest in exploring different techniques involving acrylics, inks, and encaustics flourished when I began my first series in 2016. For me, the most intriguing part and why I decided to pursue my career as an artist is that there are no rules. You create what you feel, however you feel like doing so, and whenever, somewhere along the line, something beautiful is born or a disaster is made. Joshua J. Farrell says, "I wanted to give this painting an effect similar to a relief from an ancient civilization." This artwork is a representation of an ongoing battle between two primal mentalities, but captures the usual outcome. Jordan Wong is a visual artist who specializes in mixed media collage. Wong uses her background in fashion, illustration, and theater design to explore pattern throughout her work. The act of layering different shapes, fibers, and textures creates a visual experience Wong uses in all aspects of her work. Bedrooms reflect the history of a person that owns them. This project's intention is to act as a visual time capsule of the subject by putting both the person and an archive of their most beloved items and decorations on display. I created this series in order to explore modern slices of life and the contemporary environments where it takes place. In order to accomplish this, I peered into the unique realms of 6 Oklahomans in their 20s. This allowed me the opportunity to explore a diverse group of individuals and properly cast a contemporary history through investigative portraiture. I create ethereal, whimsical collage works of art, creating with images delicately removed with a cutting blade from vintage magazines, books, and postcards. I work exclusively with unaltered imagery. The images are compiled and become unified, telling one story. Negative space in my work provides the images with room for conversation. The crisp background acts as a springboard for the detail and fusion of the images. Whether work on paper or panel encased in resin, these images are rescued from thrift stores, half-price bookshops, and estate sales and archived within their new story. The project cover-up is a collection of tools enveloped in crochet displayed in wooden frames. The monochromatic color scheme further emphasizes my interest in investigating gender roles in the workplace. Abby Sears is a printmaker, illustrator, and graphic designer out of Norman, Oklahoma. Her current body of work is a series of abstract self-portraits which utilize an architectural visual language to document and digest significant personal, emotional episodes. Sears draws inspiration from the Cherokee Gothic style of OU campus structures as well as from architectural styles of Santa Fe and New Orleans to compose condensed, dreamlike structures. When I paint, I create characters in my mind and transfer them to paintings. For this specific piece, I was inspired by the circus and its performers. I tend to get sparks of inspiration from various things I find interesting, and for this piece, it happened to be the circus. I've been playing around with the concept of this piece for a few years. It started out as a self-portrait in the first version I did in 2016, but the figure has grown into its own type of character in this specific piece titled Veins of Change. Using drone photography, Josh Bivens captured abandoned wooden bridge at Lake Hefner that's been adopted by the local turtles, who alternated between swimming and basking in the sun on the forgotten platform. The single diagonal plank served as a climbing board which the turtle child used to dry off moments later. Though the original purpose of the construction remains a mystery to Josh, the scene is a memorable glimpse of urban wildlife's reimagining of the location, a swimming hole for turtles. In my artwork, I show parts of nature that have been affected by different interactions with humans. In this body of work, I investigate the often hypocritical relationship between humans and non-human animals. My work examines the methods and ideologies that perpetuate the oppressive differentiation between human and animal. Through critique of invisible and ingrained ideologies, beliefs, and rituals, I examine how the loss of human-animal hybridity parallels loss of animals in our daily lives in an anthropocentric society. This piece acts as a diary or journal for my daily thoughts. Seeking privacy, I found myself containing my thoughts to characters that only I can understand. Over time, this manifested as the line work which I present here. Familiar characters and figures such as books, chairs, and people are easily identifiable upon closer inspection, and it is often inspiring to hear others draw meaning from my work based on their own personal interpretation. My recent work involves on-location drawing and painting that documents the people, places, and locations I've experienced over the past couple of years. I take these sketches and transform them into larger, more complex panoramic works, or as I call them, socialscapes. The addition of white ink to show more people and objects suggests a passage of time, a location revisited several times over a period of hours or months. As I recognize myself and the people around me, I feel a stronger connection and sense of belonging to the place. My work is a manifestation of my inner thoughts. An exciting evening stroll is a documentation of walking, observing, and exploring. While playing with the merging of mediums, a brush, a screen, a needle, I let intuition guide my mark making. I play with process and abstraction while letting my brain subconsciously deal with moments, thoughts, and memories. My piece in Momentum is a tribute to the creatives in the world who are brave enough to continue to pursue their craft in a world where it is looked down upon as a lesser career. With my work, I explore different mediums and practice and ideas like femininity and identity. A layering of lines and imagery have become a new way for me to represent myself in my interactions with the world. Intermingling is part of a series of horses layered over one another in charcoal, gesso, and oil paint. The horses are layered to show the relationship they have with each other and to abstract their forms. This portrait was done along with my Inktober 2019 series. The prompt for this drawing was legend, and Tiata, a Chickasaw storyteller, was the first person to come to mind. She set a standard, was a great role model to Chickasaw women by navigating in a world that wasn't built for her, and she managed to create space for herself by embracing this challenge. This is why she is a legend and an inspirational role model for me. I work across a variety of media using abstract patterns inspired by nature to explore connection, growth, and my own thoughts and emotions. I find creating these dense patterns acts as a form of meditation and allows my mind to find peace and comfort. In some of my work, I try to convey what a person emotes on their face or body language can be used to conceal other emotions they may be feeling. For example, something as simple and seemingly positive as a smile can sometimes hide the most painful experiences a person has endured, and they truly feel about a situation or people in their life. In this particular work, I try to visualize and describe the moment of vulnerability and hope others may find their own relation to it. Portraits were formerly a luxury when mirrors were not widespread, but in the age of selfies and profile pictures, how often do we actually use a portrait to denote the realistic personality of the person within it? Especially when the camera is in our own hands. Why do we cover up emotions, even to people we love? In this painting, rigid line work represents the emotions that I tend to bury with makeup or silence, covering them with vivid colors and large brushstrokes, as if to force the viewer to look for hidden images. This piece was an attempt to create composition with the repetitive patterns I frequently find myself mindlessly sketching. I've always used doodling to cope with the hyperactive aspect of my ADHD, and this practice has led me to develop a style of line work fixated on movement. My goal was to utilize the movement in lines and design an engaging layout. In my work, feelings of connection, solitude, and control drive an exploration of the unknown. Through painting and printmaking, I use atmospheric forms and airy lines to create abstracted landscapes and mystic compositions. I'm inspired by the instinctual sense of unseen forces, natural or spiritual. The sensation of wind is often brought into each piece as it's uncontrollable and invisible, only seen when it affects something else. This piece, titled Fireball, alludes to the different aspects of my cultural identity, such as the bag of tortillas, Mexican soda and cans of Coca-Cola, and the bottle of Fireball. Many of the items have iconic imagery that is recognizable on its own but takes on new context when placed together. Using everyday scenes and objects in my artwork reflects my thoughts on different aspects of cultural and social identity, while also being recognizable and allowing the viewer to engage as well. Proof of purchase questions the medium of receipt paper as a form of monoprint. I unearth deeper meaning rooted in these ephemeral objects and images by heating, soaking, and folding receipts I had collected. Notions of memory, nostalgia, place, and identity permeated these altered spaces. This piece reflects the idea of not feeling like yourself, emotionally or physically. At times, one can feel like they are not truthful to themselves but are conscious of their feelings. It can feel like it's tearing them apart, yet in the end, they know they will find the resolution to their story. Extinction, mutilation, loss of autonomy, separation, ego death. We are told that it is a sign of weakness to be afraid, but that's far from the truth. It is weak to tell others that they are less than for being afraid. It's okay. We're all afraid of something. It's fundamental to who we are. Without fear, we would be careless and unmotivated. Fear keeps us alive. I'm scared of drowning. What are you afraid of? My work explores the social signification of ceramic objects through compositional arrangements atop the table. From functional pottery to more ambiguous forms, my work is an assortment of symbolic and practical objects that commingle to participate in the important human drama, dining. My work is odd, vulnerable, and expands the concepts of an object. It challenges the standards of utility in pottery by provoking imagination and curiosity. Clara Titus creates large-scale sculptural work using animal bones and ceramics. Her work serves as a representation of her belief that humans do not have a life, they are life. They are life being experienced through the human form. When the human form dies, the life inside continues to exist. Titus sees her work as a celebration of life and how it continues past organic death. My artwork is largely about connections, the connections we have with nature, with each other, and with our own personal experiences. It seeks to find a commonality amongst our differences. In my work, I focus on the beauty of the human body and what that means to me personally. I have struggled a lot in my life with my own views of body image, and I want to showcase how unique we all are. Latex Skate Park No. 1 is a fashion piece inspired by 90s pop culture. It's something that is apparent in most of my work. This piece was shot in a local skate park on film. I'm a traditional and digital artist that specializes in equestrian and animal subject matter. My painting, Asher's Totem, is from my latest series, Patchwork. I use animals to portray the various emotions tied with death and grieving and the healing process. I particularly focus on infant loss and bereaved parents. Lauren Rosenfeld is a natural science illustrator and conceptual artist. Lauren's present body of work serves to communicate the connection humanity shares with nature and the varying impact this unity entails. This body of work highlights the essence and importance of various animal species with skeletal anatomy as the main focus. My piece Body Collage Purple Poses highlights my interest in not just anatomy and body surfaces, but also printing surfaces, by interacting with and manipulating both the anatomical and printable impressions of the body in the same manner that a printmaker might manipulate a plate or block. It's my intention to highlight the multifaceted nature of both printmaking and the human form. I find the more we attempt to define our empirical observations, the more confusing reality actually becomes. When creating sculpture, I'm thinking of abstraction by making something vaguely informed by an accumulation of life. Through drawing these sculptures, I'm studying them, taking all these vague ideas and organizing them into a specific statement, a representation. My practice of creating vague nonsense sculptures and then meticulously drawing them references the absurd lengths we all go in order to preserve our habitual assumptions and everyday expectations. This piece signifies the significance in finding a home in oneself. Especially during these times, it's important for all of us to understand who we are and what that means to us as a person. Confidence in one's individuality and self is the key to self-acceptance. Meditating on time and our passages within it, my practice focuses on nostalgia and the webwork of memories that come to formulate our psyche. My inspiration is drawn from the sentiment of the past and the need to preserve moments from it. Relying on a process that is repetitive and methodical, I incorporate layers of detail to depict textural patterns pulled from natural and familiar imagery in an effort to encapsulate comfort. My work captures little mundane moments of people's lives through the use of forgotten and/or lost handwritten or drawn notes. These are notes that I have collected over the years that include notes that I forgot about from years ago, were given to by friends, family, or strangers, those that I found while I was out, and that I may have stolen. Each work is suspended and sewn together with invisible thread. The delicate suspension, as well as the nature of the thin material, captures the fragility of these mundane words and drawings. To Those Unsupported is a work that engages the issue of modern-day slavery. The 3 chairs represent 3 countries that currently have a rampant, unchecked human trafficking industry. The broken legs, inscribed with the country's language, represent the people who have fallen victim to trafficking. The aim is to bring awareness and to encourage viewers to contemplate their position regarding this social justice issue. In What a Tree Knows, I have collected and stitched together recycled, upcycled, and scavenged materials to create the trees. I'm interested in rethinking my own ecological footprint in both my art making and personal life, but also the larger picture of our negative impact on the planet we inhabit. This fabricated forest aims to create an immersive, contemplative space in which the visitor can reimagine a relationship to the environment driven by respect and connectivity rather than consumption and isolation. Through a feminist lens, this interactive installation functions to stimulate an experiential environment that addresses the viewer's contemporary condition in connection with oral contraceptives. By utilizing what our society calls feminine merchandise, this piece calls attention to female reproductive medications or products to illustrate the connections between our consumerist society, gender discrepancies, and specifically female health. Visitors are invited to take a single card from the artificial birth control boxes. For many native tribes here in Oklahoma, the owl is seen as a bad omen, and some native people may even physically turn away from owl imagery in all forms. For my tribal people, animals are the creator's messengers, here to help humans to live in harmony. Some may say the owl is a curse, but I disagree. The owl is one that is most concerned and feels the need to warn us, the humans. We've been warned about the sickness in our country, and now it's up to us to prepare and take action. I think it's important to talk about the symbolism of the owl with other non-native people so we can have a better understanding of each other's cultures. This piece juxtaposes the present and personal components of American identity with our collective path. The 3 figures standing on their heads represent a hodgepodge of contemporary people. 2 of them gaze backwards at Walker Everett's 1930s images of tenant farmers Ellie Mae and Floyd Burroughs. While working at a refugee outreach center, I met a woman who described her experience in a refugee camp while waiting to be granted access to come to the United States. For her and her family, the daily view of the flag above the embassy represented hope, a point of access, and a future home. However, over the next 15 years, they would be denied multiple times. As they waited for the door to open, the symbol above them began to weigh heavily. Embedded within heavy hope is their story and the universal longing for home and belonging. Rachel practices drawing as a way to heal from grief, trauma, and chronic illness. Her work obscures the boundaries between her imagination and lived experience and combines imagery of domesticity and that of the natural world. Her goal in creating these works is to foster a sense of connection with her environment and her community. Ashley calls herself an accidental abstract artist. Early on, she used to think she could not draw because she couldn't make her art look realistic. Ashley soon discovered that things don't always have to look as they appear and began exploring distorted images using intricate lines and shapes. Ashley is now exploring the world of portraits, but with her own take. When viewing her art, Ashley hopes you are inspired to imagine freely without the pressure of how things are supposed to look. Throughout my practice, I explore my emotional identity as a spiritual being having a human experience. My conceptual themes often involve self-exploration, healing social injustice, and coming back home from nature. I explore the union of representation and abstract expression in my works. I believe these are the two fundamental archetypes that make up the framework of the universe. My paintings are derived from the physical world around me. This falls anywhere from the music I listen to, the icons I look up to, and places in which I live, and mainly the pop culture surrounding kids my age. Like J. Cole says, no such thing as a life that's better than yours. Being from Houston, Texas, I found that I bring a different style and technical approach to color, and I'm constantly excited to create more. All in all, my paintings are me, my thoughts, my passions, and the things that wake me up every morning. This work is an exploration of dimensionality. I'm building three-dimensional scenes made of color, line, and light, and photographing them with different vantage points to create a false sense of dimension. I work across a variety of media using abstract patterns inspired by nature to explore connection, growth, and my own thoughts and emotions. I find creating these dense patterns acts as a form of meditation and allows my mind to find peace and comfort. I'm a visual and interactive fiber artist obsessed with how color and pattern are experienced through murals, hand-dyed textile paintings, and sculptures. While fabric is usually not self-supporting, solitude for imagination helps us reimagine what architecture can be. Arranged into the architecture of this piece are fabrics that have been given to me by my family and friends. These materials, carrying with them the histories of their original owners, are suspended in time and draw us in to look into the space they create. In this architectural corner, the mind also retreats into the metaphorical corners of itself to imagine, play, and revisit the memories that act as a filter for how we look out into the world. My current body of work explores the connection between body and spirit through futuristic imagery. I work in multiples, compulsively reproducing and building towards creating something desperate but uncanny as I blend and merge spaces and patterns, each piece referencing the other and remaining situated as part of a whole piece. Constantly curious and continuously creating, building from each prior experience while investing into new perspectives. exploring the ideas of possessing a tranquil sense of well-being and an inner steady confidence. Oil paint is my primary medium in the creation of personal work that naturally reflects my own present circumstances and state of mind. The steadiness I feel in marriage and the stability of my faith influences the creation of my work. Through impressionist techniques of oil painting, I invite the viewer to see beauty and peace in themselves and in the lives around them. My work is full of sunlight, shadow, and small hidden details so often overlooked. The film-based images, frequently featuring multiple exposures and experimental techniques, evoke the ethereal, daydreaming quality of a peaceful outdoor environment. I strive to capture the essence and glow of leaves, weeds, flowers, and landscapes for my agrestic explorations. Thank you for joining me on this guided tour and engaging with the artwork by Oklahoma's next generation of artists. For more information, find us at ovac-ok.org.